2021, and I'll ask our city clerk, Lindsay, to please call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Present.
Commissioner Guess,
Present.
Commissioner Henderson,
Present.
Commissioner Wilson,
Present.
Mayor Bray.
Present. Please stand for the invocation and remain standing for the pledge.
Our Heavenly Father, we humbly come before you tonight and thank you for the city that we live in. I lift each and every person up tonight. Just give us wisdom, discernment, compassion in dealing with all the situations and decisions we have tonight. Prepare our hearts. We love you and thank you for who you are. In Jesus' name, amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
City Manager, are there any additions or deletions to the agenda?
No, sir, Mayor.
Okay, we have a presentation tonight from Mr. Story with Peel and Holland. And he's going to talk about the 2022 City of Paducah employee benefits.
Thank you, Mayor. Pleased to be here for you, Commissioners and the Mayor and City Manager. Happy to walk through the employee benefits plan and the commission briefing for 2022. I'll try to keep everybody awake as we go through some of this information. The positive news is that there's very little changes for employees and for another year for the city benefits. So brief agenda, we'll go through historical plan costs, calendar year projected costs for 2021, kind of how we're finishing up this year on the health insurance, calendar year 2022 funding and budget and escrow projections for the next year, looking at those historical allocations and allocation recommendations for city employees, how much they're paying for their health insurance, and then any additional recommendations in regards to the benefits for 2022. So a quick overview of the calendar year or the health insurance costs for the City of Paducah. There's a lot of numbers and pieces of information that are up on the screen. I don't expect you to see and look at every line item here, but what I will just point out is just the level of consistency in relation to our costs. Just as a reminder, the city's health insurance is a self-funded arrangement, which means we're paying the claims in up to a certain level, and what we want to see is consistency in claims. That's represented in the large blue bar for the City of Paducah plan expenses, and then the small orange bar on top is what we're paying out in relation to the JSA, the Joint Sewer Agency, that's part of the City of Paducah's health plan in that as well. The other thing to keep in mind is below that, below the $0 threshold, you see the reimbursement amount. So that the green bars are what we're getting reimbursed back on our stop loss insurance if we have a large claim. And then the other two are what are getting paid in premiums either through GSA or City of Paducah employee premiums. And I'd like to just point out when we're looking at this, those City of Paducah employee premiums very consistent over the course of time, which is good. That means the employees are not having to pay more for the health insurance provided by the city. So not a whole lot of fluctuation in this. We do see that 2021 is projecting higher than 2020. 2020 was kind of an anomaly. We were going through the pandemic. There wasn't as much as far as health claims are concerned. We're getting back up to where we're at in 2018, 2019. And we do expect with medical inflation and things that those trends are going to increase. And that's why we have to have a good budget and escrow in our health fund in order to maintain that. Are there any questions on the overall costs? So moving into escrow projections and projections for this year, our expected claims base for 2021 is coming in about $2.2 million. And when we're looking at how we're finishing out this year, when we add run-out projections, admin, and insurance, what we're paying for stop loss, looking at right around $2.9 million. Then we're budgeting based on what we want to keep in that health fund escrow in order to keep a healthy balance in there. And then the difference we need from the premiums employees are paying versus kind of where we're shaping up. The positive thing is in 2021, we're looking that our budget is basically right online that we're able to fund the costs and claims that we have for this year without having to dip in any additional escrow amounts, so our fund stays healthy for yet another year. When we're looking ahead for 2022, a lot of information here. The number I'll point to is the fact that if we have an expected year, again, an expected claims year, what we assume and what the underwriter assumes, we'll be in that same shape as we were this year, right? We're going to be able to fund with the same allocations we have today and pay for the claims we have. Now, if we have a maximum claims year, right, or a lot more costs that come in on the health insurance side, then we have about a 14% change. That would mean that we'd have to fund about 14% more than we are in order to stay flat and not dip into our health fund escrow in one given year if we wanted to. But the benefit in building that health fund and that escrow is that we can manage through those peaks and valleys that come with the arrangement with self-funding your health care. You're going to have bad claims years, right? And that's why we build that up. So if we have a bad year, we don't immediately have to turn to employees and say, everyone's got to pay more for the cost of your health insurance. So in relation to the actual physical costs that we're going to have for our health insurance, admin was pretty negligible. Insurance, the stop-loss insurance was a slight increase based on some reimbursement claims that we had, but overall very minimal change in the cost of our health insurance for this year. And that means that we do not have to have an increase in cost to the employees. Are there any costs on this information or any questions on this information?
Yeah, it's a lot of information. It's, so I don't want to get ahead of myself, but relative to expected and then maximum, so if we had a really bad claim year, the premiums charged to employees would stay the same? Well,
So, yes, I mean, we'd have that option. The reason why we have that option is because we have our escrow.
Right.
So that 2.9 roughly in escrow means that if we wanted to dip out of that escrow instead of having to charge employees, we can, because that fund has been built up. So if we had that maximum claims year, we don't have to immediately turn to employees and say, you've got to increase your costs.
But I guess the scenario would be if we had that 2 or 3 years in a row, then we'd have to make a decision. But the escrow fund allows us to buffer,
Yes.
Against that in any one year.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's been able to help us buffer against that for a number of years.
Okay.
We haven't had any increase, and we'll see that here in just a second. This slide just says, okay, there's an expected amount, there's a maximum, where's that midpoint at? Midpoint's at about 5.6% from where we're at, but in the grand scheme, it's a small number compared to what our overall funding and escrow is, so it's sustainable for this year. What I was going to point out is if you look at average overall employee contributions across the country, so national statistics say that from 2010 to 2015, there's about a 27% employee contribution increase across the country. So people are just having to pay 27% more for the same health insurance they had previously. And then from 2015 to 2020, there's about a 22% increase on top of that, right? Just because the cost of health care has increased, and that has unfortunately forced a lot of employers to pass that cost on to employees. The positive news is in the city's plan, since 2013, there's been no cost increased, or the city's allocation has been remained the same. We've been able to keep the cost of health care the same. The benefits have been the same for employees, and so they've had the consistency within their health plan to not only know what they're going to be paying for health care, but enough within the not only the city's allocation but their wellness benefit that they can then contribute more into HSA style plans to build their own money up to help offset the cost of health care for them as well. And so for this year, we're recommending an additional year of no change to employees, which would be the 10th straight year for employees. And going back to that national statistic, that's unheard of. It's
an unbelievable statistic, actually. And it should, from an employment standpoint, it seems like relative to everyone else that we compete with, for workers, people and trying to attract the best people to come to work for the city. It should make us, more attractive every single year in relation to to what our healthcare costs are and what people get charged.
100%. Yeah, it's a market that's continuing to rise, right? The cost of healthcare is not going down anywhere, and the fact that we've had a sustainable plan and a plan that's affordable for employees for this long is a benefit. I mean, you think about for a lot of employers out there, any raises they can give in salaries, it might be eaten up immediately with the cost of benefit increase, and that's not been the case with.
Now, that applies to the individual as well as the family plans, right? I mean, in terms
Yeah,
of
there's been no change.
No change in,
on either tier of.
it's an amazing statistic.
So it's a credit to hard work of the HR and finance team here at the city and all the work they put in to make sure to budget that appropriately.
Don't say that, they'll get a big head.
I'd like to say that it was the silver bullet Peel and Holland put in place, but there's a lot of hard work that goes on both sides. So appreciative to work with everyone there. Are there any questions on the health insurance? Delta Dental's our dental insurance. There was no changes to the rate, no changes to the coverage for that plan this year. So, no changes there. Anthem Vision, no changes, no plan changes to that as well. So again, another year where they don't have to worry about any increases on the vision program either. HRA and FSA, there were no changes to that program, which is great. And the HSA, there is going to be a change as far as administration from C-Plant to Flores. It's going to help from an administrative issues, and also it's going to allow employees to actually have an investment arm in their HSA that they don't have today. So we see that as a benefit for employees as well on the HSA. Life and disability, no changes. Wellness. So wellness, we actually did do some changes last year. We've already got a great participation in the wellness program with the City of Paducah, and that's credit again to just the investment that's been made in that program for a number of years. We've had a great participation, 62%. That's unheard of in and of itself. But with the changes that we made last year to kind of make it more accessible for any employee, we saw those participation increase from 62 to over 72% in just that wellness program. So unbelievably good. Our focus in the wellness area is just continue to streamline the work and making that program more user-friendly, that application more user-friendly for employees, increasing opportunities for them to earn via different activities, and then additional role for Peel and Holland to work alongside HealthWorks for their chronic disease management program. For anybody that's affected by diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, that program's already in place for the city, but again, to drive participation into that and to get more out of it. There is a program fee increase on the wellness program. This won't be effective to the city employees. They won't see any difference, but from a contract standpoint, slight increase in costs. It's going to be moving to $5 per eligible person per month, which is an annual increase of around $3,600 for the wellness program in and of itself, just the administration of that. HealthWorks, continued focus and participation. Again, like I mentioned, work coordinating with our wellness team and the HealthWorks team to make sure that people that are eligible for that program are getting engaged and involved, and making sure to provide them one-on-one support for that chronic disease management. So overall, our recommendations are to hold existing rates and allocations for employees, so no changes for them. Renew insurance service agreements, that's Anthem Health and Vision, Delta Dental. Peel and Holland is from advisory services, no changes in that contract for the city as well for another year. And then the wellness contract changes that we mentioned. And then continue work with HealthWorks on the chronic care management and just that transition on the HSA administration from C-Plant to Flores. So other than that, short and sweet. Any questions?
Great presentation.
Thanks.
Thank you. I actually watched this presentation last year as a candidate, on Zoom, I think. But I was just kind of amazed that, we had no increases for, I guess, 9 years at that point.
Yep.
Now we're in 10 years. It's an amazing statistic. So it's a credit to a lot of people working together to accomplish a good goal.
100%. We're happy to serve on that.
I hope our employees, city employees understand the value of the benefit and really where they are. It's something we need to trumpet more.
Indeed, and that whenever we're doing our employee meetings and the open enrollment, it can get stale, right? That there's no changes, but it's important to know that from a statistics standpoint, from a benchmarking standpoint, that's unheard of, and to remember what the benefit is for those employees as well. And I do not see the appreciation when we're having those one-on-one meetings. So. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
DJ,
Thank you very much.
and thank you to the Pill and Holland team for working with our team on this.
Okay, I've got just one thing I want to talk about a little bit before we got started today. I had an email, I think maybe some of you all got it, about a suggestion from one of our citizens about the danger around the traffic, foot traffic, and auto traffic around the Coke plant. Those of you who who frequent that area, or if you park and try to walk across the street. I don't know if everybody's kind of familiar with that area, but it's very challenging. And the state long term has a plan to really permanently improve that area and kind of square up that entire intersection and make it safer and easier to get around. But the state works in very long-term plans, and so this particular email came to us from a constituent whose child walks to school every morning, and I can't remember if it was Clark or Paducah Middle. Maybe it was Clark.
I think it's both.
Both, okay. And at any rate, she suggested that we try to do something, and so the outcome of this was, kind of a collaboration. And on my way to, we sent an email to Kyle Pote, who is the district engineer for District 1 for the state of Kentucky. And on my way to work this morning down to City Hall, I actually passed Kyle and one of his fellow workers, and they were sitting there watching the traffic and kind of mapping out some of the changes that they were going to propose. So I was very encouraged by that, and he was going to get an email out to all of us and the constituent and talk about, sort of where they were. One of the key things about that intersection is you really need a button that you can press to stop the traffic lights if you want to cross. And I think in order to implement that, there's going to have to be some additional work done, maybe underneath the street. So I'm not sure exactly all the work that's going to have to be done. So I don't know exactly how quickly that can be done, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be a priority for us to get going. This afternoon, unfortunately, somebody texted me a picture, and somebody got hit there. Was it a pedestrian?
I couldn't tell on my way down. I literally just probably missed it. The police cars were coming. There were about 4 there at the intersection. There was someone laying in the side of the grass, and there were 2 vehicles that were stopped. So I couldn't tell if it was a pedestrian that was hit or if there was if it was just 2 vehicles that collided. But nevertheless, you may know, but
It was a child that got hit, but it was minor injuries, thank God, but the child was.
Yeah. So we talk about timing. That was, it was a great email by our constituent, who pointed it out. I think it's something that we all know, but I think it just points to, a really good collaboration between citizens or a constituent, the state of Kentucky, which, owns the road, the city, which, is the roads in the city. So it's just a good example of us, thank goodness that there, was a positive outcome on the child. But it does point to the necessity of taking a look at that particular area. And it points out, good collaboration and the importance of citizen involvement. Hearing from people about things. All of us get emails every week, some positive, some negative. Some making suggestions, some realistic, some not. But regardless, everything that comes in, we all pay attention to. and ponder on and consider. And this is a good example of, I think a long-term positive outcome. So I just wanted to point it out and talk about it.
That is a really busy intersection that we have heard about before. I mean, I know a lot of students from Paducah Middle walk to Clark to pick up younger siblings to walk home. You've got Mellow Mushroom there and just a whole lot more traffic. So I think now would be the time to really push harder on that, or to push hard for it, some changes. I think some have to be done by the city before the state can do some. That's what I understood from where I read.
I think that's right, although the state's going to take the lead.
Okay, yeah, well, they would have to, yes, but if there are things that we could do to make it easier for the state to make those changes, I think we should try to address it.
So, okay, that's all I got, and at this point, we'll move to the agenda. And the first thing we talk about is the consent agenda. And items on the consent agenda are considered to be routine by the Board of Commissioners and will be enacted by one motion and one vote. There's no separate discussion of these items unless a board member so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered separately. The city clerk will read the items recommended for approval. Does any commissioner have an item that they'd like to pull off the consent agenda?
I do not.
Okay, I have two. So I'd like to pull off item E and item G. If we could, I'd like to talk about those individually, if I could.
Approve minutes for the September 14th, 2021 Paducah Board of Commissioners meeting. Receive and file documents. Appointment of Jim Chapman to the Board of Adjustment to replace Bill Baxter, who resigned. Said term shall expire August 31st, 2022. Appointment of Charles Chipbold to the Paducah Area Transit System Board to replace Terrence Adams, who resigned. Said term shall expire June 30th, 2024. Personnel actions, a municipal order approving a fleet maintenance, motorized equipment, and emergency apparatus service agreement with Ledbetter Fire Department to provide fleet maintenance services at hourly rates and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same. A municipal order approving and adopting the comprehensive health insurance benefit plan premiums, the vision insurance plan premiums, and the dental insurance plan premiums for calendar year 2022 for employees of the City of Paducah and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same. A municipal order authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for a strategic health risk advisor and strategic benefit placement services with Peel & Holland Financial Group for administration of the City of Paducah's health insurance in the amount of $78,900 plus $200 per hour, subject to a minimum retainer of $5,000 for requested services related to employee bargaining, legal matters and disputes or other similar issues, and authorizes the execution of the advisory agreement services addendum. A municipal order accepting the rates for stop-loss insurance coverage and authorizing the agreement for administrative services with the Anthem Blue Cross Blue Shield for the group health insurance plan for the City of Paducah, Kentucky for the 2022 calendar year and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents relating to same. A municipal order establishing policy for use of spending credits towards the purchase of certain benefits such as health, dental, or vision pursuant to the city's group health insurance plan for the 2022 plan year. A municipal order declaring the real property located at 1039 Madison Street to be surplus property, accepting the bid of Millwork Products LLC in the amount of $1,000 for purchase of said real property and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and all documents related to same. A municipal order declaring the real property located at 1011 Broadway to be surplus property, accepting the bid of Triton Properties in the amount of $500 for purchase of said real property and authorizing the mayor to execute the deed and all documents related to same. A municipal order declaring the real property located at 1243 North 13th Street to be surplus property, accepting the bid of Gemford and Letitia Barber in the amount of $400 for purchase of said real property and authorizing the mayor to execute all deed and all documents related to same.
So moved.
Second.
Call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. City Clerk, would you read item E, please?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to reappoint Bill Paxton to the Paducah-McCracken County Riverport Authority. Said term shall expire September 26, 2025.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, I just want to talk about this for just a quick minute or so. And I am recommending that we reappoint Bill Paxton to the Paducah-McCracken County Riverport Authority. Bill is the chairman, and he's former mayor of Paducah, three-term mayor. And I want to call this out because in the last year, 18 months, we've got a new director at the Riverport Authority. There's a lot of positive momentum going there for the first time in a long time. And it really happened under Bill's leadership. And I think Bill is an example of someone who's given his heart and his soul for this community and continues to do that every day, even though he served 12 years as a mayor. And he continues to influence and try to influence outcomes in the community at all times. And he's just an example of a citizen who's led the community and continues to do that on a day-to-day basis. And I think sometimes he doesn't get enough accolades, for the work, and the dedication and the enthusiasm that he shows for the community. And I just wanted to call it out because I thought it was the right thing to do. Any comments, or we can call roll?
I second it, what you said. I mean, I'm not making the motion, but anyway, I agree with what you said.
Yes.
He works really hard on behalf of our community.
City Clerk, you can call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guest,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. And read item G, please.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing an Emergency Roof Stabilization Assistance Grant for the property located at 617 through 619 Broadway in the amount of $30,000 and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
Okay, the reason I called this one out was just, and I could let, maybe Katie, you want to talk about the building. I wanted to sort of talk with everybody about kind of the situation and the issue that we have downtown with some of these older buildings. So why don't you go ahead and talk about it, and then I'll chime in.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me, Mayor and Commissioner. I am presenting tonight on an emergency roof stabilization grant request for the property at 619 Broadway. The Emergency Stabilization Program is one of 4 downtown incentive programs that we use to preserve, attract investment, and encourage the revitalization of our historic commercial district. These programs have been in place since 2013 and 2014. Roof stabilization is one of those programs, and it is our most utilized grant program. As part of the zoning ordinance, or the program ordinance, we have a carve-out for emergency funds when there are cases like 619 Broadway. This is a picture that was taken this past spring from Irving Cobb when fire prevention was doing an inspection at that building. They looked across the street and could see that the roof of 619 Broadway had pulled apart and that the roof was already in a partially collapsed state. So we notified the property owner and started a process and a dialogue with them to try to fix this roof. We can see the inside of it, the decking and the framing of the ceiling has collapsed. This is where the whole of the roof is right now. And then there are other points on the second floor where there is deterioration and further dilapidation. Back in June, we hired Gartner Engineering Consulting to do a structural assessment from the outside of the building. And they were able to declare that this building is a public safety risk and a risk to adjacent property. Not only is the roof collapsed, but we're also starting to see movement on the front facade, moving laterally, which creates a risk of collapse and falling into the sidewalk. So they declared it as an emergency. And then these pictures were actually taken back in August with the assistance of the property owner. So under the program ordinance, that certain criteria needs to be met. The fire chief needs to declare this as an emergency. It needs to be a historic building that is located as a contributing structure in the National Register. And we need to be able to verify that if not but for emergency funds, the roof would collapse, which it has already, or that further risk or further time puts this building at risk of collapse. So we've met the criteria of an emergency roof action. We've worked with the property owner to define a scope for repairing this roof and limiting water intrusion and further damage. You can see here, and it's also in your agenda packet, that the property owner is looking to demo the existing framing that you saw collapse, reframe, repair the roof membrane, do cleanup and disposal, and then cost for materials. So the total project cost to repair that collapsed roof is $60,000. And under the roof stabilization program, a traditional grant program, we will fund up to 50%. So staff's recommendation is to apply that same criteria here and award an emergency grant of 50% of the project cost of up to $30,000. This project is unique because of the state of the building and also the timing of needing to take action. They have 3 months under our ordinance to repair this work, and we've also allowed for a 3-month extension in case they need additional time and given kind of how severe this work is. Any questions?
Yeah, we'll inspect the work.
Yes.
Before we write the check, or as a.
That's correct.
As
So
a
this
part.
is based on a reimbursement basis. They have to do all of the work in advance. They go through the same process of a building permit, and then somebody within fire prevention coming to the site after work is completed to inspect and sign off on it, and then providing us all proof of payment, invoices, and other documentation before we reimburse them the 50%. So it follows the same process as roof stabilization. The difference is that the property owner is skilled in being able to do the work himself, and we are allowing him a separate time frame to be able to correct this action in a very expeditious way.
Okay.
And when does that time frame start?
It starts when you approve. So with the
Tonight.
city manager signing, it will be a 3-month time frame, which brings us to December 28th. And then if they request an extension, that would be an additional 3 months. I think everybody agrees that we don't want another Kresge on our hands in which the city paid upwards of $900,000 for the demo and the removal of that construction and demolition debris. So we see this as a good value to help support this property owner in stabilizing their property, getting back on track to redevelop.
Yeah, thank you, Katie. I wanted to call this out because, we have a lot of old buildings in downtown. It's the core of our downtown, right? Going out 6 blocks from the river. And this building was purchased by somebody who had a dream. They had an idea. It was a very inexpensive price that they paid for the building. And they had a dream, but of developing the building into something. Well, over time, that dream, hasn't happened yet. And so now they're faced with, with the roof that's coming in. And then we're faced with the fact that if we don't do something to help them, incentivize them to do it, then we've got another Kresge building on our hands, or we've got to tear a building down. So you've got the double negative of having to tear a building down and having this big hole, in our group of buildings that we have in each block, which really makes up our downtown. It's really the central point, our central business district. And so it's something that, I've had some people mention to me, well, why doesn't the city have a roof stabilization program outside of, the defined area. And, and while that might be an opportunity for us to, to look outside of that area to do more, we've been focused on that, again, that central business district, that makes up the core of our downtown. And maybe in the future, we can take a look at something more for other buildings to help incentivize people to develop buildings. So, but just thought it was a good thing for us to talk about all together. It kind of points out a problem. I am aware that the Columbia Theater, they've got there's a long-term vision, I'll say, not a plan yet, but a vision for that building, and they've got the facade, that's going to require work. And so, we've got that discussion coming, at some point down the road, where, there's going to have to be improvements made in order to stabilize that building as well. So I just thought it was a good discussion to have. Everybody good? Okay.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Thanks, Katie. Okay, now we move to municipal orders. We've got two to talk about tonight. And the first one is relation to the Robert Cherry Civic Center. So, City Clerk, you want to read?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the City Manager to Enter into Contract Negotiations on behalf of the City of Paducah for the Architectural Design and Construction and Administrative Services renovation of the Robert Cherry Civic Center."
So moved.
Second. Mayor and Commission, you authorized us to go out to RFPs as this next step for work on the Cherry Center. We received two proposals that were responsive. Those have been reviewed by the committee that made up of Ms. Clark, Commissioner Guess, Ms. Mullen, and myself. And at this point, we're requesting the authorization of the City Manager's Office to enter in contract negotiations to finalize an agreement to bring back to you at the second meeting in October to enter in to a signed contract with one of these two. The two entities that supplied, PFG&W Architects and Work Architects and Design, which is out of Louisville. And the quote that came in from PFG&W was at $66,500, and the committee is recommending that a negotiation discussion starts with that.
Okay. Questions, thoughts, comments? Commissioner Henderson, you look very thoughtful.
No, I'm good. I talked to city manager this morning about this, and I just wanted to make sure that we were not past the threshold of trying to add some more seating to the banquet space. And he assured
That's
me
fair.
that we were not. So I just.
That's fair, yeah. Good thought, really good thought. So, yeah, I think even said another way, we really need to right-size that building in terms of the offices that we need to utilize there in relation to the community space. So, okay, City Clerk, would you call roll?
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye.
Thank you.
Okay, would you read the next municipal order, please?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Approving and Authorizing a Loan Increase Request for the Pump Station Number 2 Clean Water State Revolving Fund Loan in the amount of $750,000 and authorizing the mayor to execute all documents related to same."
So moved.
Second.
All right, Mr. Murphy, tell us what this means. It's a lot of money.
Again, we're talking about Pump Station 2, but I thought I'd bring Cheryl Chino up here. She's been administering our KIA loan with us, and I thought I'd just let her give the explanation. But right now, with our contingency, we're bumping up against the end of our contingency, but we need to maybe do something with our loan authorization, so I'll let Cheryl share that with you all.
Okay. Hi, Cheryl.
Thank you, Rick. Hi, Mayor. Hi, Commissioners, City Manager. Hope everyone's doing well. So just to give you a little bit of background, we secured a Clean Water SRF State Revolving Loan Fund funding for this project through KIA in 2018. The original loan amount is $4,610,667. The interest rate is 0.7%, and it's a 20-year term. There is a forgivable amount of $1.3 million, and you had other grant funding in the project that you've already spent, totaling $1,392,000. So the current situation is that we are asking for a loan increase of $750,000. Because once we finalize a second contract modification with Pace Contracting, that will make you have a shortfall of approximately $75,000. Now, you're probably wondering why. Well, $75,000, why are we asking for $750,000? And there's two reasons for that. First of all, the project's only about 40 to 50% complete. So the additional loan funds will allow us to have some contingencies for any future unforeseen costs that may arise. And secondly, KIA has funds now for your project, but they might not in the future. There are a lot of projects going over budget, and so their funds are becoming very limited. And one last note that I want to make is if you borrow the $750,000 and you only spend the $75,000, you do not pay back the $675,000 difference. You only pay back what you actually draw down. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions you might have.
So the total right now on the project is 4.6?
That's the total loan amount.
That's the total loan amount?
Right.
And the 750 is in addition to that, or is that after the 750?
That's in addition to.
Okay.
The new loan amount will be $5,360,667.
Okay.
And again, you have 1.3 of that is forgiven over the life of the loan, so over the 20-year term.
And how much is the city actually paying back then on that loan?
About $4 million, a
Okay.
little over $4 million.
Okay. At 0.6?
7.7%. You have technically you have a 0.5% interest rate, but there's an additional 0.2% admin rate that's KIA charges you to administer the loan over the course of the 20 years.
Okay. And that 4.3 million, or the total amount of the project, that's the total for the pump station number 2 to repair it completely?
No, Mayor, that's not the total. We're over $6 million on the total to repair the pump station. It's just that we're having to address the KIA money with where we are with the contingency.
Okay.
Right, you have three actually funding sources in the project. One was a $1 million community development block grant, of which you have spent with the exception of I think it's about $100,000 that they hold until you close the project out. The other was a $392,000 Delta Regional Authority grant. You have spent all of that program. So now that only thing funding you have left now is your SRF money to complete the project. Your new total project cost with the loan increase would be about $8 million.
For pump station number 2?
Just for pump station number 2. And that's if you spent the whole $750,000, which hopefully we won't. So.
Let's talk about another pump station, because we keep talking about pump number 2. It goes up $1 million every time we.
Will this get it done?
Yes.
That's the first time I've heard him make a commitment.
And it's on tape.
So the next step, if you approve the loan increase tonight, is that it will go to the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority's Board of Directors for consideration at their November meeting. And
Okay.
then they'll issue an amendment to your loan agreement that will have to be executed.
Okay. I have no other questions.
Well, I have a quick question. Okay, is it functioning like a line of credit where we just draw down on it as far as
guess you
what
could
we
see it that way.
need, what we need, as opposed to a bond where it's funded and we hold it basically until we use it? I'm
No.
getting the thumbs up back
Yes.
there. Is that the
Yes,
difference?
That's exactly how it works. This is basically funds that are earmarked for this project. by
Project
KA.
only, okay.
You draw down what you actually need because you actually secure the loan before you have bids. So you're working off an estimate.
I got you, okay.
And so if you don't use all of the additional $750,000 that you're asking for, KA recoups that and
And-
allocates it to another project.
Got you, okay.
We really appreciate you
Pleasure.
coming and bailing
Happy to
Rick
do it.
out and helping.
This project will get done.
Thank you,
Maybe
thank you,
don't remind
Cheryl.
Rick's dead body, but it'll get done.
Thank you very much for coming. Thank you, Rick.
you.
Thank you, Cheryl.
Okay, City Clerk, call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
All right?
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, we have 5 ordinances to adopt tonight. These are ordinances that have already been read previously at our previous meeting, and so I think we've had explanations, but I'll ask the city clerk to read the first one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute contract modification number 1 with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated to increase the contract by $74,345 for the Buckner Lane Bridge replacement over Crooked Creek. This ordinance is summarized as follows. On March 31st, 2020, the city authorized a professional services contract with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated for $154,036 for the Buckner Lane Bridge replacement over Crooked Creek. American Rescue Act ARPA funding allowed for the appropriation of $4 million towards specific stormwater mitigation projects. The Buckner Lane Bridge replacement project was identified as a stormwater project for which ARPA funding could be used. This ordinance authorizes contract modification number 1 with BFW Engineering and Testing for additional services for an increase in the amount of $74,345, adjusting the total construction project from $154,036 to $228,381.
Questions? I think you can call roll.
I need a motion.
Oh, you need,
I think it's David.
So moved.
Second.
sorry about that.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
All right?
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, the next one?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute contract modification number 1 with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated to increase the contract by $106,500 for the South 24th Street and South 25th Street Improvement Project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. On November 24th, 2020, the city authorized a professional services contract with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated for $159,775 for the South 24th Street and South 25th Street Improvement Project. American Rescue Plan Act funding allowed for the appropriation of $4 million towards specific stormwater mitigation projects. The South 24th Street and South 25th Street Improvement Project was identified as a stormwater project for which ARPA funding could be used. This ordinance authorizes contract modification number 1 with BFW Engineering and Testing for additional services for an increase in the amount of $106,500, adjusting the total construction project from $159,775 to $266,275.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? I think you can call roll.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Guess,
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson,
All right?
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Bray.
Aye. Okay, next one?
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute contract modification number 2 with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated to increase the contract by $24,500 for the Build Environmental Assessment Project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. On April 14, 2020, the city authorized a professional services agreement with BFW Engineering and Testing Incorporated, BFW, in the amount of $250,000 for environmental services for the Paducah Riverfront Improvement Project Build Grant. On April 27, 2021, the city authorized contract amendment number 1, adjusting the total contract to $262,200. During consultation with the Kentucky State Historic Preservation Office, MARAD, and the Indians Tribes, the city of Paducah will be required to enter into an unforeseen programmatic agreement. BFW will be providing additional consulting services on behalf of the city to satisfy the programmatic agreement requirements. Contract modification number 2 with BFW is required for an increase in the amount of $24,500, adjusting the total construction project from $262,200 to $286,700 for the Build Environmental Assessment Project.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? You can call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Getz?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, please read the next one.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance accepting the bid of Wilkins Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $495,784 for Riverfront Park Landmass Scour Project and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The City of Paducah accepts the bid of Wilkins Construction Company Incorporated in the amount of $495,784 for the Riverfront Landmass Scour Project, said bid being in substantial compliance with bid specification and advertisement for bids as contained in the bid of Wilkins Construction Company Incorporated of August 26, 2021.
So moved.
Second.
Thoughts, discussion? Okay, you can call roll, please.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, item E.
A proposed motion of the Board of Commissioners to adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance fixing the levies and rates of taxation on all property in the city of Paducah, Kentucky, subject to taxation for municipal purposes and for school purposes for the period from July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022, with the purposes of said taxes hereunder defined. Purpose and rate per $100. General fund of the city. Real property at $0.271. Personal property at $0.39. Motor vehicle and watercraft at $0.39. School purposes, Paducah Junior College at real estate at $0.016, personal property at $0.016, motor vehicles and watercraft at $0.031. The City of Paducah shall collect the following taxes for the Board of Education: Paducah Independent School District, real property at $0.864, personal property at $0.864, inventory at $0.864, total tax rate per $100, real property $1.151. Total tax rate per $100 personal property, $1.27. Total tax rate per $100 inventory, $0.864. Total tax rate per $100 motor vehicle and watercraft, $0.421. Property taxes levied herein shall be due and payable in the following manner. In the case of tax bills which reflect an amount due of less than $1,000, the payment shall be due on November 1st, 2021, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until November 30th, 2021. In the case of all other tax bills, payments shall be in accordance with the following provisions. The first half payment shall be due on November 1st, 2021, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until November 30th, 2021. The second half payment shall be due on February 1st, 2022, and shall be payable without penalty and interest until February 28th, 2022.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we had quite a discussion about this at the last meeting, and I don't want to minimize, this vote or this decision, but I think we went over it pretty thoroughly. I just want to make sure that if there's any additional questions, John Perkins was here last time to, answer any questions. So if we're all good, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to vote. So, okay, I think you can call roll.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye. Okay, we have two ordinances to introduce tonight. And the first one is a new lease agreement on a building that the city owns with a lease that the Siemens Church Institute leases from us. So I'll let you read it.
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and approving a new lease agreement with Siemens Church Institute of New York and New Jersey. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that the mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute a renewed lease agreement between the City of Paducah and Siemens Church Institute of New York and New Jersey for lease by Siemens of the property located at 117 South First Street in the City of Paducah, McCracken County, Kentucky.
We do, so move, yeah.
Second.
All right. So, Mayor and Commission, I just want to recognize the hard work that's been put into this by former Commissioner Arndt and Ms. Smolin and Ms. Parrish. This lease has changed a little bit since it was first discussion about that. Originally, we were looking at proposed to stay with the current 10-year lease with 10-year renewal. And in discussion with representatives with Siemens Church, this new lease agreement as proposed is a 5-year period with an annual rental fee of $60,123, which is paid in monthly installments, with the option of a 1-year, 5-year term. So it's 5-year initial term, and then you can renew for another 5-year term.
Oh, okay.
Instead of 10 years and a renewal for 10. And so that was a change that we worked out with Siemens. Additionally, we also worked out and how upkeep and maintenance would be for major renovations. And we tied that into being similar to our other rental agreements. So minor renovations are on the responsibility of the tenant. And then once it exceeds $7,500, it would be on major renovation too. And that's accumulative for the course of the year.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other major change in this from the previous one is that because we are allowing a sublease of a portion of the space, if Siemens does sublease a portion of the space and that rental exceeds the rent, their rent payment to us, then we would split that additional revenue in half. They would retain half of that. So if it, for easy math, if they subleased out and their lease or their sublease rent was $100 more a month than what their payment to us, then they would keep 50 of that and they would give us 50. They would be on that. So, those are the major changes to the current lease.
What was the increase in rent from the last, do you know what that was from the last?
Do not have that one on.
Okay, sorry.
So I apologize, but we can get that information out to you. It's still a very favorable lease to Siemens. I mean, it's below market rates.
Mm-hmm.
You know that.
Yeah, does it, maybe, I don't know, I'm sure everybody really knows what the Siemens Church Institute does. They provide training, for our folks that work on the river. And it's a kind of a fascinating story. They are a church, and they started out, ministering to people who work on the river. And over time, they've evolved into, a training organization. And if I'm not mistaken, I'm working from rote memory here, but I believe there's only one other location, I'm not sure, in the United States that trains folks that work on the river other than right here in Paducah. So they are an important, member of our community, which we treat them that way, by, my understanding is providing with a below market, rate on rent. And I'm glad we kind of went to a 5 and a 5. With an option rather than 10 years is a long time for a lease, so I think that makes a lot of sense.
And there is a 60-day out clause also for both parties to terminate.
Okay. Okay. City Clerk, would you like to read the next ordinance?
A proposed motion that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky approving a third amendment to the professional services agreement for engineering services for the flood control pump station number 2 with HDR Engineering Incorporated to reflect an expanded construction administration and inspection scope, and to increase the agreement in an amount of $55,315 and authorizing the execution of all documents related to same. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance approves and authorizes the execution on behalf of the city of the Third Amendment to the Professional Engineering Services Agreement with HDR Engineering Incorporated relating to the expansion of the scope of services to be rendered by HDR Engineering Incorporated in connection with the design, construction, administration, inspection services of flood control pump station number 2 as required by the U.S. Department of the Army. This Third Amendment increases the agreement in an amount not to exceed $55,315 for a total agreement cost of $494,977.
So moved.
Second.
So here's this pump station number 2 again. So you're not going to get away from it. So-
Same numbers.
So, Mr. Murphy?
Mayor, I've been working on this project for 23 years, but in all seriousness, you recall several weeks ago, took you and Jim Arnn out to see what was going on with the situation, knowing that this was going to be coming up later. Well, we've rectified that situation with that and with the help of HDR on that for the design team, but they had to do the work in order to do that. Now, if you go out there and you look at the levee, we'll have the trail on it before the end of the week too. So all of that work is
wow.
complete, and we got grass growing. But all of what you saw several weeks ago with the bad soil and the hole in the ground that we had to fix before we could put it back together. But this is in conjunction with that work that we did for that. So that's for HDR and the work that they did quickly so we could get things put back together quickly.
Did you say the trail's going to be open? You didn't say that, did you?
I said that portion of the trail is going to be open. We will have that trail there at Pump Station 2. The concrete will be poured and it'll be
Oh.
ready. Now, behind the smoke shop, not so much.
Okay.
But at that location.
That particular
yes.
spot is going to be
Yes.
finished by the end of the week. That's great news. And I know you've been working on it for a long time, and I know it's a big issue for the city and an important issue for the city, so. Okay, I think we're good, unless anybody's got anything, so. Okay, I have one more comment I'll make before I ask the city manager for any comments. I will not be in attendance at the next city commission meeting, so I'll leave everybody in capable hands of my mayor pro tem, Commissioner Wilson, and she and I will be working together on the agenda and any issues that come up prior to the meeting, so I appreciate you filling in.
Thank
So,
you.
City manager?
I just wanted to make a note, this upcoming weekend, there's another event at the county's owned property, at the Yaktoberfest. It is a musical event. The reason I bring it to the attention tonight is because as a nonprofit organization, under current city ordinance, they are not required to get any variances from the city. So the only aspect to the event that the city had was the approval of the ABC license, the temporary ABC license. It is on city property. We don't. I know that we've worked and had conversations with the county after the touchdown in Tunes. We don't expect that same type of atmosphere for this, but just want to alert that there was an event going on, and it's not the city's event. It is a private event held on county property, so the city doesn't have to issue any type of variances or anything related to that event.
So what is the county owns what?
It's out the same place where Touchdown and Tunes.
Oh, okay.
It's located.
Okay,
Mhm.
okay.
So, but just wanted to make that clarification
Yeah,
for
okay.
the commission's knowledge and also for the public's knowledge,
Okay.
in case you received any questions about it.
Well, based on the other one, probably the most important is that the police know
Yep.
what to do and the sheriff's office know what to do.
That's all I had.
That's all you had? Okay,
Yes, sir.
great. Any comments from any other commissioners?
I do, but I have a little happy for you too, so I'll be right back. I'll go get it.
Scared of that, but anyway. But I do have a comment while she's
Go.
going there. Last week, this time, some of us were in Washington for the DC fly-in. And I just wanted to take this opportunity to give kudos to Commissioner Wilson. I thought it was well-planned, well-organized. I mean, her team had it together. It was informative, and we got an opportunity to see how we advocate for the city. And so I just want to let you know that it was a first-class event, and want to thank you for it.
Well, thank you for those comments. If I can follow up, it did go really well. We had some key meetings on behalf of our community. I think we've talked about those with the Department of Energy, Federal Aviation Administration, MARAD, and our elected officials, as well as tourism and arts. So it was a good meeting. Thank you.
So.
Appreciate those comments. I'll pass them along.
That's just another day in your life. It's just another day in the life of Sandra Wilson, a well-planned event.
I hope so. That would be my goal.
Okay, what's your comment?
Well, right next to you is some chocolate-dipped key lime pie from one of the barbecue off-the-river vendors that they wanted to send tonight
Okay.
for everyone to take and pass around.
Oh.
You know, there's been lots of discussion in the community, and as you all know, I serve still on the barbecue board. There's been lots of discussion in the community about it being on the river, off the river. Why, again, this year was it off the river? Because the COVID numbers were declining at one point. And I think one of the things that a lot of people didn't realize is that decision had to be made back in March. Because an event like that just can't be planned overnight. At that time, there hadn't been an extension yet for the hotel, so we didn't know if they would be digging at that lot. Supply was still an issue. Getting supplies was a huge issue for us. Plastic was, lots of containers weren't coming in on a regular basis. If you think back to in March about what some of the grocery shelves looked like and what things were coming and how irregular things were being shipped, and we still are seeing some of that, but back at that time, it was a lot less predictable. So there were lots of different things that we were dealing with, and we just did the best with the information that we had. And so that was what led to the decision that we made. And that was after talking to, meat dealers and all those kinds of things. But the good news is, one of the things that we have learned is the people that did like key lime pie, when they're down at the river, they raise $7,300 for their charity. This weekend, they raised $7,000 for their charity, and they didn't spend near the same expense. Wow. So it is amazing what people can do when they set their mind to it. One of the other teams had several pre-orders, and when I went there, Commissioner Henderson, I think that may have been your group, Kiwanis.
Oh, yes.
How many groups are you working with? But they had so many pre-orders, they were just exhausted, but they did all the work ahead of time, and you couldn't have purchased barbecue there that Friday afternoon if you wanted to. It was all sold out. Yeah. But they worked and had done really well. Mm-hmm. And they raised a lot of money as well, I know. And there were several others too, and I know that the wait, for instance, at Noble Park, was like 30 and 40 minutes for Buzzard Brothers, and that was early in the day. That was early, not around, dinner time or lunchtime. So I'm sure the wait times got longer, but we appreciate, as always, everything that the city does, and there'll be lots of conversations to be had, but.
Right. Well, I appreciate you. First of all, thank you for the key lime pie.
Well, you might want to pass it around, because it's going to melt.
I will. I'll let
Commissioner Wilson.
go manager start it, but I appreciate you bringing up the discussion.
It's stamped on there. It's stamped on there.
Okay. All right.
I appreciate you bringing up the discussion because there has been a lot of discussion in the community about barbecue on the river.
There has.
Why was it off the river, and will it ever come back? And it's an event that's been so important to the city. So it warrants discussion.
It does. And, you know, first and foremost, we want the community to be safe, but we want those charities to be able to raise money as well. And we want them to be able to have the products that they need to be able to do that. There's just a lot of moving parts and moving components. And it's, you know, it's a fun event to have. It's a great event for the community, and there's lots of ways I think that we can do it. And it may be a combination of doing it on and off the river.
Right.
Who knows what it'll look like in the future, but there's still a lot of good to be had from that event, I think.
You know, one of the things I've learned, you know, throughout life is that nothing stays the same.
No.
Everything changes over time, you know, it evolves. And so I think this is a good example of an event that's really going to have to evolve over time. But, you know, all the discussion in the community was, I viewed that as positive.
I do too.
You know, people are very passionate about the event, you know, what are we going to do? And people enjoy it. So appreciate you serving on the committee, and thank you very much for the key lime pies.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
It was
It's good.
Highland
We had
Cumberland.
to eat it now because it's ice cream.
Highland Cumberland Presbyterian Church. It's delicious. So
Yes, it's
thank you.
great.
Commissioner Guest, are you good? Everybody else has been talking, so, you know, I want to put you on the spot. All right, I think we're good. If we could have a motion to adjourn.
Go move.
Second.
Call roll, please.
Commissioner Galt?
Aye.
Commissioner Guess?
Aye.
Commissioner Henderson?
All right.
Commissioner Wilson?
Aye.
Mayor Bray?
Aye.